The plain remembers the weight of many years. It lays itself out in fissures and dusty plates, as if its skin was a map of temper and hunger. They walk across it with careful steps, each footfall a small ceremony of preservation. Hands that once sowed without fear, now close around the palm, as if to keep what little warmth remains. Breath comes measured, even the wind keeps its voice low. This is not silence of peace, it is the silence of people learning to live inside shortage. Every small motion becomes testimony. The way a sleeve is folded, the angle of a gaze, the slow exhalation after a measured task. They do not speak. The land speaks back in texture and pause, prompting a kind of listening they have been forced to learn. Where stone yields a bowl, water lingers like a held thought. A silver plane of sky trembles in the shallow pool. A thin green that clings to the rim seems to shrink from attention. They gather at its margin, not for celebration, but for calculation. The reflected face is never complete: an eye, a mouth, an anxious brow. Together it forms their accounting of want. Hands test the surface, finger skin trembling at the cold edge. Even the small green knows it is observed. It bows instead of standing tall. There is an economy here, the way a person measures the cold against the need, the way hands decide whether to cup or to conserve. Memory passes through this water, a memory of abundance, now filtered by caution. Seeds sit like compressed history, small round refusals of oblivion. Each kernel is a ledger entry, a possible tomorrow bound in husk. Mara counts in silence, her eyes moving like a careful machine across patterns. The ledger's ink smudges where a hand has paused for too long. Elias stands in threshold shadow, palms folded like a man holding a secret. Jonan's shoulders move with a tension that looks like hunger, and also like fear of what hunger makes people do. These objects, boxes, parchment, seed, demand decisions without dictation. In the closeness, the notion of theft and trust takes the shape of a breath. A small rupture appears in the skin of earth, and the whole world leans toward it. The blade is not loud. Its voice is a fragile, vertical insistence. It bridges the old and the new, the stitched history of root and the possibility of canopy. They gather at the line of furrows, shoulders hunched as if to shelter the sight. Eyes water for different reasons, some because of wind, some because of a realization that hope is a dangerous thing to hold. The camera lingers on the green, not a miracle framed in glory, but a quiet answer to a long question. The land continues its slow work. Someone inhales in a way that sounds like decision. Value redraws lines. Where there was common ground, a boundary appears in the way a person takes a step. Hands edge toward tools as if to claim space, shoulders square more than before. The land that fed aimless mouths now has a price measured in proximity and posture. They reorganize themselves in small acts. A finger pointing at a stone, placement of a marker. A tightening of rope, used toward a patch. Because when something becomes precious, it invites the calculation of rights. There are no proclamations here, only the slow arithmetic of who stands closest, who breathes loudest, who will act first. Memory arrives not as archive, but as force, a current, pulling at a frayed rope. Sarah remembers orchard shade and the scent of fruit. She remembers a table heavy with offering. These remembered images fall like weather on the present. They soften a brow. They quicken a hand to protect. Memory is not neutral. It is a pressure, a standard by which the present is judged. The past's abundance becomes a template for what must be restored. And that template both fuels hope and sharpens blame. Movement becomes threat. What was texture becomes tide. Tiny bodies in great numbers that blot the green into gray. Panic is not a shouted thing here. It is a rapid tightening of hands, a shift in gait, a flurry of woven nets and pressed sprays of clay and ash. The field becomes a theater of improvisation. The people move like a single organism with fragmented parts, some defending, some watching, some stooping to save a blade. The insects do not judge, they act. The people must respond as if at war with weather and biology both. Night collects courage. In the dark, decisions are easier to make because they are hidden from oneself. A hand reaches for the stem and withdraws, not with malice but with a logic that is short and sharp as hunger. Jonan sees motion in the moonlight, the shape of a body, the tilt of an arm. He does not call out, he runs. The chase is a sequence of breaths and broken footing, a collision of light and shadow that asks the question, what are you willing to take from the earth for yourself? The camera will not show speech, only pursuit, proximity, and the choices that spill from panic. Sky breaks with a ferocity that feels like punishment. Rain hammers the soil until the field is a moving thing, terraces collapsing in slow brown avalanches. Someone screams, another slips. Hands clutch at each other and at wood. The small green is battered into mud, and then astonishingly, into new soil, carried beyond the rows. For a moment, everything they were protecting feels taken back by a force older than their designs. The storm is not moral, it is indifferent. The moral work happens in the bodies trying to hold order against that indifference. When everything is in motion, moral clarity can flood in brief and blinding waves. In the face of the storm's ruin, a choice is compressed to wait and reach. Which hand do you pull first? Elias measures distance as if with a scale, and then moves. He turns from the small green and steadies a falling body. The camera stays near, honoring the micro decisions the way a shoulder rounds, the speed of a reach, the steadiness of a hand placed under another's back. The field may lose some green in this instant. What is gained is the proof that another kind of growth can reside in these people. The slow rooting of responsibility toward each other. Morning is a gentle, relentless interrogator. It asks what remains and what must be rebuilt. Hands move with an economy learned from hardship. There is a new rhythm to their labor, an integration of care and technique. Some blades are gone, others bent but living. The work is not triumphant. It is careful, honest, and almost sacred in its repetition. The land has demanded more than seed, it has demanded service. What was once a single insurgent blade has become a measured bounty. They harvest in small portions, hands sharing what the field relinquishes. The gathering is not a feast of plenty, but it is a proof. A proof that tending can yield and that decisions grounded in care can change outcomes. They do not sing loudly. They watch one another eat, measuring faces for fatigue and for the kindling of something steadier. The land has given. Now they must give back. The final image is a slow crane-out green woven into the land's pattern, an invitation rather than a closure.